back, baby.
Offense, you know what to do.
Football time in Tennessee.
That's it.
Give me Tennessee.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the 1796 Sports Podcast, a victory edition, a playoff clinching edition, a to hell with Vanderbilt edition of the podcast, as the Tennessee Vols defeat the Commodores 36-23 in Nashville to more or less clinch the playoff berth. Thoughts? Let's go to Eli first.
Tough start to the game yesterday. I think most Vol fans were clenching their teeth going into the second quarter there. The first minute couldn't have gone worse. I don't think it, unless Nico threw a pick six or a fumble six or something there. But the going down 14-0 to start was rough, but the team rallied and came back and won in a big way. And it was beautiful to see. Clinched a playoff berth. Couldn't be more happy as a Tennessee fan right now.
100%. Jim, what were your overall thoughts?
Terrible start. Team showed a lot of good traits for a championship team. Obviously I was one of the fans that was pulling my hair out in the first five minutes of the game and saying this is how it all ends. But the team didn't think that, and they dominated Vanderbilt from the second quarter on, in my opinion. So exactly what we needed to see. I think it was good momentum to go into this little 3-week wait period of a playoff game. Tennessee might get the host. We'll talk about that more later. But overall, good team win. We own the state of Tennessee. We always will. And, I think this whole team is coming together right at the right time. Hopefully we could heal up and not let's take advantage of the 3-week period to get as healed up as we can, from Dylan Sampson to Brew McCoy, and the list goes on.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the start to the game was not what anybody was expecting, but I said it in our group text, guys. Like, okay, you started bad. How are you going to respond now? I mean, that was the question, and like we've said, they responded in a big way. 36-9 was the score after the first 5 minutes. So really, without those two horrible plays to start the game, this is a laugher, which is how it should be against Vanderbilt. But moving into some specifics about the game, I thought this was Nico's best game of the year against a decent opponent. He looked poised. He looked like he was really comfortable in his decision making, specifically when he was deciding whether to run or pass. He had several good scrambles and just a very good performance overall from our young stud, Nico Iamaleava.
That guy Nico showed most Vol fans yesterday that he is here to stay and that he can do what we've been dreaming of for years now. What a game from him. I heard a lot throughout the media that we were going to have to rely on Sampson a lot to get through this game, which has been the narrative all year, and I understand it, and which we did give him the ball quite a bit. He had over 170 yards rushing, if I'm not mistaken. But, Nico went out there and 4-touchdown performance and basically just wheeled the balls to victory. He didn't lose his composure after the pick or the fumble or even the kick return. Like, anything that bad would happen, he shook it off and immediately went out there and threw a 90-plus yard touchdown and made a couple good throws to, 2 touchdowns to Thornton. It was a great day. He had a great day. I mean, outside of like 2 bad throws, I can't think of anything he did that was necessarily horrible. He did great, and he had a great pocket presence today. Escaped a couple of sacks. He looked great yesterday. And that's what we're going to need going forward.
Absolutely. Jim, What did you think of Nico's performance?
Slow start. We can't be having that against any team in the playoff. Um, Again, Nico's improved in the later half of the season. I think this is only the beginning for him, and I think he looked real good. Dante Thornton, I think we need to shout out. Dude had what, 2 catches for? He was averaging like 56 yards per catch. It was kind of crazy, but yeah, Nico. I think he's finding a rhythm with the wide receivers, even with the wide receiver room being so depleted. I mean, no Brew McCoy, Dante Thornton. There was no Dante Thornton in the second half. Mike Matthews, we got a Mike Matthews sighting. You got a good view of our future, coming up. But yeah, Nico's finding his rhythm at the right time, I think.
Yeah, 100%. You mentioned Thornton, obviously the two huge touchdowns. Um, Mike Matthews sighting, which is what pretty much everybody has been clamoring to see. But I was also really impressed with Chris Brazel yesterday. He caught a few big balls on third downs, um, and he paid for it too. I think that the first one where they ripped his helmet off and there was no flag. Then there was one on that 2 minute drill before halftime where he caught a ball on 3rd and 4 for a first down. Pretty good performance from Mr. Brazel as well. But going back and watching the highlights, I put this together in my mind. All 4 of the touchdown passes were passes over the middle, which I know last year that's what we bitched about the most, Jim. Not passing over the middle and in the biggest game of the year because it was our winning your in game. We saw it. Eli, you mentioned Dylan Sampson. He now holds the single season rushing record for the Vols at 1,485 yards and adding 22 touchdowns as well. I mean, Josh Heupel, even in the press conference, couldn't come up with many words to describe his season so far. But he's just incredible, and I don't think anybody expected him to be this excellent for the Vols in 2024. But he's just outstanding.
Yeah, I'm very proud of Dylan Sampson. I'm sure most Vol fans are. I just hate that he's not getting the national media love that he should. I hate that he's not a Doak Walker Award finalist. I find that insane. I guess it's because of the fumbles, but like at the same time, I don't get it, man. That guy deserves the world. He's gave his all for Tennessee this season. Coming into the season, even I myself said that the running back room was our worst position group. Turned out to be our best offensive one. He's picked up the slack where the receivers has let us down at times, and he's the reason we're 10-2 right now, and with staring down the face of hosting a college football playoff game.
Yeah, I mean, he was the engine that ran the offense for most of the regular season, and now that we're adding Nico being looking like it's clicking for him now, as Jim was saying, to the offense as well. Like it could be dangerous for whoever the Vols' opponent is in the playoffs. Another thing about Nico, I kind of glossed over it, but he's now the first quarterback in Tennessee history to win double-digit games as a freshman, and we all predicted 10-2. I don't think we all expected to get here the way we have. We all, I think, kind of expected the offense to carry the load and the defense to be slightly above average and come up with stops when we needed them, but just flip that whole thing around. Really, it was the defense, but the offense came up with big drives all year, and again, doing it with a freshman quarterback, like it's pretty impressive when you're talking about the best conference in the country. Like this doesn't happen all the time for a freshman quarterback. I mean, I think I already said this is the first time in Tennessee history a freshman quarterback has won 10 games. So it cannot be understated how impressive this season has been so far.
Yeah, no, I mean he's a lot of people thought coming into the season he was going to be a Heisman candidate, And I think our expectations were just a little too high with him. I mean, as Tennessee fans, we're gonna dream big. We always do. But he's done his part, and he's improving game by game. And I think that's scary for the rest of the country, especially going into this time of the year with, if Tennessee hosts a playoff game with Nico and he gets hot like he's been, like he was against Vanderbilt, it could be scary for the country. Nobody, I don't think anyone wants to see the Tennessee Volunteers, especially with that defense run game and hot Nico. I think they're the most attractive team in the country right now with him firing on all cylinders.
Yeah. I want to talk about the defense in yesterday's game now. Vanderbilt's golden boy this year, Diego Pavia, was pretty much handled by Tennessee's defense. He had 104 yards passing on 8 of 17. And about 70 of those yards came in that garbage time drive that they had where Tennessee was playing prevent. He had 11 carries for 45 yards, and 20 of those came on one carry. I mean, just domination from Tennessee's defense on Diego Pavia. Like, and we talked about it with Billy last week, Jim. Like, if you stop Pavia, you're going to win the game pretty much, and they sure as hell did.
Yeah, Mister, just give me the ball, I'll win it for us. I'll do it all myself.
Yeah.
Got pummeled to the ground multiple times. Vanderbilt got like 3 flag calls on roughing the passer, which was just absurd. Especially the jumping throw that he did. Like, to me, that was the dumbest call I've ever seen. I think, Tennessee's defense has done this all year. I mean, other than the Georgia game, they have been flawless. And I think they've learned from the Georgia game, to be honest. I think Tim Banks is going to roll with that. And like you guys were saying before, I would not want to face Tennessee, especially, Tennessee doesn't lose inside Neyland Stadium under Josh Heupel. They just don't. We've lost one game, and that was to Georgia, and they were the number one. Did they not win the title that year? Like, I can't remember if no, that was last year. But still, you can't beat Tennessee inside Neyland Stadium. And if we host a playoff game, it's going to be absolutely bonkers. Plus the defense being the defense it is, it's going to be a really scary thing to verse Tennessee in the first round, especially if you have to come to Knoxville. So the defense has been incredible. They played great. After that one drive where they scored because we gave them the ball, so in good field position, they did their thing. And one, like you said, you stopped Diego Pavia, they couldn't do anything. They literally couldn't do anything. And my opinion, this whole game turned around after Nico threw that interception, and we stopped them on that 4th down. That was the turning point of the game. Vanderbilt knew it was over.
Yeah, that huge. I think it was like around midfield and 4th or 1 and 2, and they decided to do a play action pass for some reason, and Pavia got sandwiched by like 3 Tennessee defenders. Then we got a field goal, and then we got that long Thornton touchdown on our next possession. So you're right. The game totally turned around there. Another important spot in the game yesterday, the middle 8, the 4 minutes before halftime, 4 minutes after halftime. Tennessee scores going into the half, scores coming out of the half. Vandy was cooked at that point. Like, Vandy's not built to come back from down 2 scores. And it was pretty much put it in cruise control from there for the Vols. But do you have any more big thoughts on the game yesterday before we talk about some playoff scenarios?
I think everyone was talking big about. I heard a little bit of talk about how we wouldn't be able to guard their tight end because we struggle with Georgia's. I think we were a little more prepared because we knew it was coming. With Georgia, that was like a huge surprise. Like, their tight ends were not a big, like, watch point for like us going into that week. I feel like we didn't watch much film on that, and it kind of caught us off guard. So, Tennessee accounted for that big tight end. I can't recall his name right now, but he's a good dude. He's a good football player. And we shut him down yesterday, and it kind of like Diego Pavia didn't have his go-to guy. Therefore, he threw for 100, barely broke the threshold of 100 yards yesterday. And I just want to give props to the Tennessee linebackers and defense yesterday. And last thing, Jermon McCoy is the best cornerback in the nation.
Yeah, that
Here-
interception was absurd.
I've never seen a play like that where he bats it in the air, rolls around on his back, and then intercepts it. Like,
Well, it's like he did a push up, and then he turned back around, and then he was like, "Oh, hey, here's the ball." But I do want to finish off about the game, and I brought it up earlier. If you're a Tennessee fan, you look at this team, and you look at the 22 team where we were 1 win away. You had to go on the road and beat South Carolina, a bad South Carolina team, and you didn't do it. The team just didn't have that mental aspect to them, and this team has it. I mean, to go down 14-0 with 5 minutes into the game, and they never lost sight of what the goal was. Is that they didn't need to win by the amount they won by, but they were going to win that game. And I know as fans, you don't see it because you're mad, you're down 14. It's like, oh my God, the season's over. BVS kicks in, but and that was me. I ain't gonna lie. I'll raise my hand. That was me. But this team has that championship attitude. And they even showed it in the Georgia game. The Georgia game, they were, everyone was like, oh, we got killed. No, we didn't. Tennessee was one play away from being one play away. And we just couldn't get it together in the second half. And this team's got it. They don't have the quit. They're not going to ever quit. They got the heart. And that's what I take away from this game is this team has the attitude. It's got the defense. If our offense could put 35 points up on the board every game, you're a national champion. That's all I'm saying. If the offense could put 35 on the board, Tennessee is most likely winning the game. So let's hope Tennessee's offense and Nico could keep on clicking.
You can talk about our freshman quarterback our offense is inconsistent, our wide receivers aren't that good this year. You look around the country, the national championship is up for grabs this year. I don't think anyone can for sure. There's not a for sure champion.
No, don't even say Oregon. Oregon's not.
No, I was about to say Oregon they're undefeated, but they've struggled with horrible teams at times and have shown the ability to lose games. I mean, I remember going into like week 3, we were like, I don't know why Oregon is ranked that high. They're not that good. Then they went on and beat Ohio State.
By one.
By 1 point. Who we learned this weekend is not as good as people were saying they were. It's up for grabs. Georgia, for instance, struggled with a mediocre Georgia Tech team. It's football. It's rivalry week. I'll give it to them. But at the same time, like in years past, the national championship, the surefire national championship contenders finish those teams off in rivalry week.
Yeah. Jim, to your point about the 5-alarm fire on Vol Twitter during the first quarter, I mean, I couldn't really blame anybody for that. I was also one of those people. I'm not going to hold anything against anybody when we're losing to damn Vanderbilt with our backs against the wall trying to clinch a playoff berth. It was hard times, but like I said earlier, it was about how they were going to respond. And like you said, they responded in a big way and got the job done. So,
and that's a championship team. Like you can't have that because it's not going to be whoever you face in the national title game this year. And I'm not saying Tennessee's going to be in it for sure, but they can get there. It's just let's talk about playoff game. No playoff game is going to be perfect. You're playing the best of the best, and you're going to have adversity. Someone will go down. Let's say Dylan Sampson goes down. Next man up. Thank God Deshaun Bishop played. Thank God. So, Deshaun Bishop being back is huge. It's going to let Dylan Sampson get a couple of, breaks in the game because let me tell you, Deshaun Bishop is going to be an absolute stud at Tennessee. That dude is an NFL running back if I ever seen one. And I'm no NFL analyst, but you watch that kid find the hole. He's so patient and he just attacks everything. and he looks like Dylan Sampson. He's a freshman, and
Yeah.
hey, and another thing, don't take this with a grain of salt. Dylan Sampson is not a top 10 running back in this draft, according to Mel Kiper. Do not be surprised if Tennessee doesn't throw him a bag to stay one more year.
Well, I would love that.
Here's my thing. I don't think Mel Kiper,
No, me either. Me either.
whatever he says is not said and done. That guy's going to show out at the combine, and he's going to show out at his pro day. I think Dylan Sampson's gone.
I
hate
think
to
he
say it,
should
but
go.
I think he's gone.
I think he should go,
especially
'cause-
with how running backs, how durable they are, and I mean,
well,
we saw
how
this year with
how
Carson
much he's
Beck.
been used too. He's been used like he's a freight train this year. That's all. That was our offense, and he would have to. I mean, he wouldn't have to do it as much next year, I don't think. But like you said, I think he's going to be an NFL guy. But if I'm Tennessee, I'd be throwing a bag at him. I'd be like, hey, if you want to stay, here you go. Like you could have this, because again, he'd do the same thing next year too.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, I've been chomping at the bit to hop into this playoff talk. I really want to hear y'all's thoughts on just some of the narratives that have been coming out, some of the think pieces from the so-called talking heads, and the number one thing I want to talk about is how excuse me. ESPN still has Ohio State hosting a playoff game with us being their opponent.
Dumb.
I mean, I'm sure y'all know where I'm going with this. How is losing to Michigan at home as 21-point favorites not
A good loss? Because that's what they're going to call it.
I know it's way worse than Tennessee losing to Arkansas on the road.
I agree
At
with
night.
that fact,
At night.
but I also will say I think Ohio State on paper has a better resume than the Vols. Therefore, they're going to
No,
justify
stop
throwing them
it.
in front of us.
Stop it. Eli, stop it. Stop it. Everyone knows that ain't true.
I mean, they have 2 playoff wins, whereas Tennessee potentially has one.
Yeah, you're talking about Penn State. Penn State is garbage too.
And Indiana. That's another team that's
Exactly. Indiana's a fraud too. Indiana's gonna. I think. Well, and we're gonna talk about it more, but I think Tennessee's gonna end up playing Indiana in the playoff opening round inside Neyland Stadium.
Who's in the Big Ten championship? Is it Indiana or Penn State? I cannot remember.
Penn State. It's Oregon versus Penn State.
Okay.
Which we would benefit better things if Penn State just loses. Because if they lose, Penn State will probably be below us, and we're for sure a lock for a host. Honestly, but that also changes things too. Because look at the SEC championship game. What if Georgia wins? Do they rank Texas higher than Tennessee? Probably. So you got to look. I think as a Tennessee fan, you have to be rooting for Texas to win because Georgia will still be in the playoff regardless if they lose. So, in my opinion, I think you want Texas to win so Georgia would be below us and we'd for sure have a host seed.
Yeah. There's so many scenarios that could shake out. I think, without if it ended today, I think Tennessee would host a playoff game. I think they would slot us in ahead of Ohio State. If it were to be decided tonight, I think we would be hosting. But like we're going to talk about, there's so many things that can happen. Like you said, Jim, 7 seed Tennessee facing 10 seed Indiana is probably where I'm leaning to. It's probably my preferred scenario, even.
Me too.
Well, I mean, you look at the AP poll; it has us slotted above Ohio State, which I mean, the AP poll is not the said and done. The college football committee, the CFP committee, definitely thinks very different.
Which they shouldn't, to be honest, because honestly, that AP poll is pretty accurate, in my opinion.
If it were decided on the AP poll, that would mean Alabama would be in right now. So,
well, Alabama, I think, is going to be in. I know everyone thinks it's not going to happen. I think Alabama is going to be either the last team in, or even the I can't even do it with the whole seeding thing, but the second team in or whatever. I think Alabama's in. regardless. And South Carolina,
Bama would be in playing as the 11 seed.
yeah, South Carolina, unfortunately, is going to be out because if it's head to heads matter because they got embarrassed by Old Miss at home, and then they lost to Bama. I mean, it is what it is.
I think it should go like this. Neutral site field today, Bama versus South Carolina. Who are you two taking
Bama
in a matchup?
neutral site.
Yes.
Ooh, South Carolina's hot, but again, I don't know what it is. I just if all you have to do is stop Jalen Milroe, so I'd pick South Carolina to win.
I think I'm taking South Carolina just because of that defensive front. I think they
That's
match
all you
up
have to
well. I
do,
mean,
bro. That's all you have to do is stop Milroe from running.
I mean, think about it. Earlier in the season, they played, and South Carolina was driving down the field to go ahead for the win, and just couldn't get it done.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean,
Lenora Sellers looks like the real deal, and we were talking about young quarterbacks before. I think him, Nico, and Lagway are going to be the top 3 quarterbacks next year.
my other question is, does Miami slot in ahead of Bama?
Not hell no.
Well, what
Miami's
happens?
out.
There's another
Miami
thing.
needs to be out. Why would
What if
Miami be in?
what if Clemson beats SMU? Does SMU fall all the way out? I don't think they do.
I would. I think the ACC is other than technically Notre Dame because they play an ACC schedule, but it's a 1 bid league this year. I think regardless of who wins, if Clemson loses and SMU wins, obviously they're in. But I think SMU's done if Clemson beats them.
you want to know?
Miami's out. Miami cannot be in. Bro, they beat 0 ranked teams.
Yeah, Miami honestly should have. They got lucky because the refs, fondled them against Virginia Tech at home on that
Bro,
hell.
their defense is like if you play like Ole Miss or any even South Carolina would destroy Miami.
Yeah, I think South Carolina would destroy a lot of these teams in playoff spots as it stands right now. It's funny. I've seen a lot of Alabama fans on Twitter saying, head to head matters now that it might come down to them versus South Carolina.
Oh
But head
yeah,
to head,
of course, Ryan. You know
but
how it works.
head to head didn't matter.
Narrative only fits when it comes down to
Ex-
them, and that's how it was back in 2022. And they decided to rank them ahead of us.
Here's how the Tennessee fans need this weekend to happen is if in a perfect world, if you want to host the playoff, you need Texas to beat Georgia, you need Oregon to manhandle Penn State, and you need SMU to beat Clemson. If that happens, Tennessee is for sure hosting. Not even a question. Because I think if we're talking, I mean, I don't know if you see my post on Twitter, but what should happen if you're putting the 12 best teams in there, South Carolina is going to be in there over Alabama, but if you're talking about if the perfect scenario happens, Alabama and South Carolina can get in, but that's based on if you talk about 12 best teams, because you know how this committee does, where it's like, oh, we're going to put the 12 best teams in there. That's not true.
Yeah,
It's not
know,
going to happen like that. We all know it.
if they wanted to do 12 best teams, they would get rid of automatic bids for the Big 12.
Yeah, like Boise State. Boise State plays any of even the 3-loss SEC teams or any of the top SEC teams. They're going to get destroyed. You stop Genty, it's over.
I think Boise deserves to be in there personally. I
I
think
mean,
I think they're
But
going to give
but
whoever they
why?
play some trouble.
But
They've played a phenomenal near flawless season, and their only loss is a
in the
close
Mountain
one.
West, though.
A close one to Oregon is their only loss. Which I know I have my faults with Oregon, but Oregon is the only undefeated team in the country. And
All right, Eli, let's be serious. Let's be serious right here. If Boise State plays our schedule, what's their record?
8-4.
I mean,
Nah, it's generous.
I want to say 9-3 potentially.
With losses to who?
I think with losses to Florida, Alabama, and Georgia.
What about a healthy Oklahoma team?
I don't know. No.
Oklahoma's defense wouldn't stop Genty?
I don't think so. No.
I think he would.
I kind of agree with Eli. I think Boise State is deserving.
No. They are. They're going to be in. And we're talking about if this playoff it has the bid and all this jazz. But
Should they
Boise
get a bye
State,
is another question. Absolutely not. I think the bye should go to the top 4 teams in the country.
I think the automatic bid shouldn't even be like you should have the top 4 teams in the country, 1 through 4 in the AP poll or the CFP, whatever. It shouldn't be conference winners. I think conference winners should be in, but they shouldn't get automatic bids.
I get the automatic bid thing. I just don't get the automatic bye thing. That's where I'm hung up on this whole this playoff format. It throws me off, and I think we're going to be dumbfounded when SMU and Boise State have buys over teams like Georgia, Tennessee, and Ohio State, even like Penn State. I mean, it's ridiculous that those teams should get buys over us. Another thing, Clemson, 8-3 Clemson, who just lost to South Carolina, has a potential to sneak into the playoff and get a bye after losing to a nary top 5, barely top 5 SEC team, which I think I'm downgrading South Carolina a bit there. But if Clemson wins, do they get the bye? They're over Boise?
Yeah, I'd say so.
That's ridiculous. That is
no, because Boise would be ranked higher than them because Boise's number 10 in the AP poll.
Yeah, Boise would be so that means Arizona State slides in at the 4. So either way, a team.
But again, though, the 5 seed has the best route to the playoff.
Oh, absolutely. It'll be Penn State is what it's looking like, unless they get blown out by Oregon.
No. Or Penn State, I don't think will be a 5 seed. I think if
Tennessee has potential to slide in there, if they rank us ahead of Ohio State,
I think in a perfect world, Tennessee should be the 7 seed in the playoff bracket this Tuesday.
Yeah, now, in a perfect world, and then with potential to move up to 6, which putting us at 6 would make us face Alabama again in Neyland.
But that's the thing, though. The committee's not going to do it. Someone made a good point on Twitter is the committee is not going to do a rematch of Indiana, Ohio State, and they're not going to do a rematch of Georgia, Tennessee. They're not going to do it.
Yeah,
they'll have Ohio State come to Neyland, or they'll have Indiana go to Neyland. They're not going to do it.
So would you? Okay, here's my other question: how angry would you be? Tennessee gets this. They're ranked 7th. They're right ahead of Ohio State. And next week we get to like the final thing. Tennessee slides in at number 7 still, and Ohio State jumps us to number 6, hosting Alabama with a chance to go and play SMU or whoever wins the ACC.
Wait. So who would we be playing?
We would be playing. So Bama would be the number 11 overall seed. They'd be playing 6. If Penn State gets their butt kicked by Oregon in the championship game, I think they fall quite a bit. So I think Notre Dame slides in at the 5 slot, which is the cakewalk we're talking about. But also the 6 spot is very attractive. I think you play a home game versus a pretty good team in Alabama, and then after that you get a neutral site game with either SMU, Clemson, or whoever comes in at the 3 seed.
Well, that's what I'm talking about with this, and this is all scenario based. But like, I don't think they're going to do rematches. If they don't have to do it, they'll move teams. Like again, like what you were saying. Like if they have to move,
I understand that, but I think I'd be pretty angry if we didn't get the 6 because the alternative to that is falling down and playing 7. And being the 7 seed going with a win, you play like Indiana or Penn State at home, and then if you win that game, you play at Texas rather than SMU or Clemson.
Well, yeah. Again, I think they'll move teams. I don't think. Again, this is in a perfect world to a Tennessee fan. I don't think Ohio State should be above us. I don't care what anyone says. Our strength of schedules are about the same, which I don't know how that's even possible, but. I think
SEC schedules.
I think Tennessee's going to end up as a 7 seed, like in the bracket. I think there'll be a 7 seed playing the 10 seed, right? I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I think we'll be playing Indiana. That's what I think is going to happen
tomorrow. I think we'll be 8 hosting. We'll be 8.
Well, no, 8. 8 doesn't host, do they?
8 hosts. That's the last
8.
host.
Okay. See,
8 hosts 9. So if we'll be playing,
and then who
Ohio
do we
State.
put? We would play the number 1 team then, wouldn't we?
If we win, we would play the number 1 team. Yes.
Yeah. So I'd rather have the 7 seed.
Absolutely. But also, like, I would rather, in a perfect world, everything goes as I described it earlier. You'd be 6. But the narrative you're saying is if they switch up teams to get the
They're going to
the
want primetime
non-conference-
matchups because
Yeah,
they're not going to want another Tennessee Georgia or Tennessee Alabama, which would be insane. But they're going to want to do different matchups. Like a Tennessee Ohio State with Ohio State coming to Neyland would be absurd numbers, like absurd numbers.
yeah. But what I was saying is that with that scenario, what you're saying, if we're ranked ahead of Ohio State and everything goes out, what if Ohio State jumps us to be number 6? So you get that
But
match
why would they jump us though?
because you're saying that they're not.
Oh,
gonna
you're
wanna-
saying they would flip us to switch the game.
yeah, and then we would end up with the 7 seed rather than
It depends
16.
on how you look at it. I don't know because I think Tennessee could beat anybody in the bracket. But
Yeah, but
I see what
think
you're
would
saying.
be
I see what
angry,
you're
yeah.
saying. I don't think I'd be that mad though. As long as we host, I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, but also at the same time, like I would much rather play SMU or Clemson in a neutral site game rather than Texas.
No, I agree. I agree. No, you're not wrong. Again, I don't know. This committee, we're gonna see a lot about this committee come Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, this is the experimental year, so we'll learn a lot. What they I don't
Dude,
think their logic is necessarily
well, Ohio State should not be above
consistent
Tennessee. And that's without Tennessee bias. I mean, you just scored 10 points against a Michigan team and lost 13-10
at
with a
home.
Michigan team that doesn't have a quarterback and doesn't throw the ball.
You know who doesn't lose at home?
Tennessee don't lose at home.
Exactly. I agree. I think Tennessee should be ranked ahead of Ohio State. Will they? I don't know.
I
don't
think they are. Honestly, with the AP poll and the coaches poll being the same, I think the coaches are trying to tell the committee too, like what it should look like.
You know what the committee should do if they have a pair of balls is rank Georgia behind Tennessee for going to 8 overtimes with Georgia Tech.
They won't though. That's the sad part.
I don't know. This
Georgia
thing
Tech
about,
should have won that game, dude. Oh my god, they should have won.
the annoying thing about Alabama and South Carolina is this year when you have more than 12 teams at 10 and 11 wins, I don't think a 9-3 team should make it. But if you want to have the 12 best teams, they're going to consider them. But
Well, and South Carolina right now is one of the 12 best teams. They are.
I mean, I think that's technically right, but it just bothers me that they're going to.
Well, and also though, and this is the South Carolina fans. You could have another argument where they're not one of the 12 best. I mean, you lost to Bama, Ole Miss, and what was their other loss?
LSU.
LSU.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how can you argue that? Like you played Ole Miss and Bama were two of the best, and you lost.
Well, the thing about Alabama is they've lost now to 2 6-6 teams. Like I don't think
no one expected that.
I don't think that's a worthy resume either because their best win now is, of course, Georgia still. Like
But see, and that's another spot though. And Eli, what you were talking about with Miami, do they take that into account where Miami's only lost 2 games, and do they leave an Alabama out?
I think Miami deserves to get in over Alabama.
No, bro. Well,
Miami's
actually,
losses are Georgia Tech and Syracuse, 2 pretty good teams.
They don't have any ranked wins though. They have 0.
Georgia Tech has. Hold on. Well, they played Georgia well, and I'm pretty sure they have another ranked win. Hold on.
So between Clemson, Miami, and I can't remember the other team in the ACC, they all have 0 ranked wins.
SMU. Ugh.
Yes, and SMU. They all have 0 ranked wins. And again, though, what does the committee look at? Are they looking at that loss column or are they looking at the 12 best teams? Because if it's the loss column, I wouldn't be surprised if Miami's the last seed.
I think it would just be hilarious for them to leave Alabama out.
Oh, my God. You know how sad they would be on Twitter
And
if
then
they. Again, though, I think
Oh, I
Bama
would
would
love
wipe
to.
the floor with Miami,
I
but
don't
that's
want.
just
Here's
me.
my thing. I don't want Bama to get in. I think
Me
they.
either.
I don't want them to get in.
Bama could win a title.
I don't know
here,
about that. I don't think. I
No,
think once Bama runs into
Bama
a
could
team that
give
can defend
trouble to
the,
people.
I think Bama can run once they run into a team that can defend the run well and make Jalen Milroe pass. They're not going to do good, and that defense has nothing on any good offense in the country.
Well, that's what we're talking about, though, too, about Tennessee. Why Tennessee, if Tennessee could host a playoff game, you're looking at, I'm not going to say it's an automatic win, but you're looking at a 75 to 80% chance to win that game at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then once you're at neutral sites, it's all fair game.
Yep.
You're not going to, there's no, oh, you got to go to Penn State and play at Penn State. It ain't nothing like that.
Is if I'm not mistaken, Josh Heupel's 4-1, 5-1 in neutral site games.
Well, including the NC State game. And I know NC State's not what we all thought they were going to be, but Tennessee manhandled them.
And I'm honestly, I'll say 6-0 because we beat Purdue in that year that we lost in Nashville.
yeah.
I think
Yep.
that was BS. I don't even want to talk about that. That has nothing to do with anything. But Josh Heupel, it's not an away game, so I feel a little confident.
Well,
in a
and again,
neutral
it's
site.
going to be it'll be different mental notes for the players too. I mean, you're going into it's a playoff game. You're playing for a national title every game. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
you win, you stay in, and it doesn't matter the outcome. You win by 1 point. That's it. That's all you got to do.
I also think that this Tennessee team, all year we've kind of been playing with something to lose, and that something to lose is a playoff berth. Now I think all you have to, you got nothing to lose in this playoff, but you have you have so much to win. So it's like I think we're just gonna let Nico let his nuts hang, run him, run and
We
win
didn't even talk about that. We didn't even talk about that, Eli. What
Oh,
about Nico running the damn football?
oh, he was great pocket play. He looked like the opposite of Will Levis out there.
No,
Yesterday.
can we talk about who he looked like though?
Let's hear it.
I'm not going to say if he runs the ball and can stay upright and actually learn to slide a little bit, he looks like Lamar Jackson. That's all I'm saying. That dude could run.
What's the coach of NC State? What's his name? I can't remember.
Dave Doran.
Dave Doran said that earlier in the season. He said the last person I've seen like Nico is Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and I don't understand. I understand why you want to keep him healthy. You don't want him to get hurt. But when Nico, like the one play where he held the ball on a read option, I was like, oh my God. Oh, this opens up so much on this offense is when they have to worry about him running the football.
Absolutely.
And he's fast. You see him get to the outside. I'm like, oh my God, this kid's so fast. What are we doing here?
The play where he rolled out to the left, had nothing, and then came back to the middle of the pocket and ran down the right side of the sideline was beautiful.
See, he's been doing that all year. It's just they've been very trigger happy with throwing a flag on a hold.
Yeah.
But also, that's on the offensive line. Just let your quarterback do work. There's no reason.
Can Lance Hurd also stop getting false starts? Because I would love that.
I don't know why we're so jumpy. That one false start was BS. That was encroachment.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was. Even the announcers were saying it.
Yeah, no, but either way, I don't know why you're jumping.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, you got any more thoughts on the playoffs? Any more thoughts on the game before we sign off here tonight?
To the playoff committee, don't be bitches. Give us a Neyland home game and give the people what they want. And that's all I'm going to say.
I don't think they realize how electric
no, I'm honestly, we would break the Georgia record by decibels. I guarantee it.
Georgia doesn't own that record. They're liars.
No, we do. No, I'm saying against Georgia.
I was about to say. I thought that could have.
When Jalen Wright ran that 80-yard touchdown at the beginning of the game to our only touchdown, pretty much. Yeah, that was 137 decibels.
Oh, dude! Imagine close game late in the fourth quarter. Tennessee's got Ohio State or Indiana backed up into territory.
First of all, Indiana would lose to us by 3 touchdowns.
I think.
Give me a half suspended Ohio State team in Neyland.
So did they confirm that? Is that like an actual thing?
I don't know, but they surely, right? They had They got in a dude. There was like pepper spray pulled out and everything.
Wild scenes on Rivalry Saturday.
I love it.
But yeah, there's another week of games to watch for Tennessee's playoff hosting aspirations. But we will see how it all shakes out. And go Vols.
Go Vols.
Go Vols.